Can we all agree that lipos are freaking annoying? I mean, they're great. They have a huge amount of power in a very small and light form factor compared to like other types of batteries. They're amazing, but they're also freaking annoying because like you have to know how to charge them. And if you don't charge them right, the best case scenario is they die and the worst case scenario is they light on fire and literally burn your house down. And yeah, there's lots of lipos out there that have like built-in battery management systems. Thanks DJI. But for some reason, we haven't adopted those in FPV. So lithium batteries are freaking annoying. And sometimes you just want to take your quadcopter out of your pocket, take a freaking battery, and plug it in, and go fly. And that's what we're looking at today. This is the Rekon3. Designed by Dave C. and put out by HGLRC in their Rekon line. And the question that we're going to tackle is, it's super freaking cool that Dave C. did this. But is it actually a quadcopter that you're going to want to own and fly? I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. The product that I'm reviewing in this video, the Rekon3, was sent to me by Rekon for the review. I have not received any other money or compensation in exchange for this review, and no one has had any approval over the things that I say in this video. I want to start this video by just acknowledging what an amazing technical accomplishment this quadcopter is. Dave C., the designer of this and several other quadcopters you might be familiar with, in fact, I think it's fair to say that he basically, if not invented, at least popularized the whole 4-inch long-range category. Now he's doing lightweight 5-inch builds, and now we've got this little guy. And it seems like his goal with this might have just been to say, can I make a quadcopter fly on a 1S 18650 cell? And that's harder than you might think. In fact, when I first got this quadcopter, I took one of the 18650 cells that I used to power my goggles, and I stuck it in here and I went to fly, and as I went to take off, the whole quadcopter just browned out and shut down. Many 18650 cells don't have the ability to deliver enough current to actually power this quadcopter. Oh, okay. Okay. In fact, I had to go out and buy these high discharge rate Sony cells. They're Sony VCT cells. And if you don't have a high discharge rate cell, you're not even going to get off the ground with this guy. But the challenges don't stop there, because these cells can be discharged down as low as 2.5 volts. And most of the electronics that we run quadcopters on isn't designed to operate at that low of a voltage. So there are real technical challenges with creating a quadcopter that can fly on 18650 cells like this. But what do you get in exchange? That, I think, is the big question that will help you decide whether this is a product that you want to buy. The ease of charging is one of the big things that I think appeals about this type of battery. With these 18650 cells, you just stick them in a charger like this. It charges them up automatically. There's no C rate to set. There's no charge rate. There's nothing. No button, not even any buttons to push. You just get back from a day of flying, you take them, you put them in your charger, and you come back later and they're charged and it's ready to go. That's why I use 18650 cells for my goggle batteries. And basically anywhere that an 18650 cell can handle the discharge rate that I need, so basically not for flying, but for goggles and screens and so forth, I like to use these cells. It's just one less thing to think about when I get back from a day of flying, one fewer battery to have to charge up. And I find that to be really valuable. Safety is another advantage of this type of battery. And yes, especially if you've got the high discharge rate cells. Like you've probably heard stories of vapors, people who use vapes, and they'll have one of these cells rattling around in their pocket and somehow their keychain will short circuit it and lights on fire and like sends them to the hospital with 3rd-degree burns. These are still lithium cells and they still have to be sort of respected. But the fact that you're basically always charging them at a very slow rate. And there's just not as much potential for you to accidentally screw up the charging. It's single cells. So if you have a bad cell, you're going to know. You're not going to end up in a scenario where you've got a 4-cell pack and one cell is bad and it craps out on you. It's just, I think there's less potential for disaster with this type of cell. The size of this quad is also another advantage. It's small enough that you can have it with you pretty much wherever you want to go. It's not quite pocket-sized, but it certainly is backpack-sized. And whether that's an advantage of this specific quad, I think has to be debated, because there's lots of small quads out there. There's tiny whoops, and those quads are going to run off of lithium batteries, regular lipos, and frankly, they're going to deliver better performance. We're going to take a look at the flight performance in just a minute, and what you're going to see is that there definitely have been some concessions to flight performance in order to accomplish the goal of building a quadcopter that flies off of one of these 18650 cells. Now, Dave C's original design was fully 3D printed, and in fact, if you want to build one of these yourself, you can actually download that file from Thingiverse. You can print it yourself, and you can just make your own one of these. You don't have to buy the Rekon. The Rekon, though, has largely 3D printed parts, but you can see here the arms are actually carbon fiber. So it's going to give you just a little bit more stiffness and probably a little bit better flight performance. As far as durability goes, let's just say this thing isn't designed to be a basher. It's not going to have enough power, frankly, to get enough speed to really test its endurance. And if you did crash it, I think you could make an argument that maybe these arms would break. But frankly, a quadcopter like this isn't really designed to be crashed very aggressively anyway, so that maybe just is something you accept when you buy it. Speaking of crashing, one of the biggest questions I had when I first saw this design is, if you do crash it, is this battery likely to pop out? You can see it's just held in there, and it's held in there fairly tightly, but I might find a way to put in like a battery strap or something just to make sure that I get it back if I ever do crash it. Well, before we go fly the quadcopter, let's just do a quick rundown of the specs. The motors are 1202.5 in size and 16,000 kV. The video transmitter is 350 milliwatt output, and it does, you can just barely see there, it does include a microphone, so if you're one of those people who flies with an earbud, this will work with it. It comes with this little whip antenna, which is not going to give the best possible range, but presumably that's a concession to weight. If I was going to upgrade it, I might look at something like a Luminaire Axi Micro, which is a circular polarized antenna and is probably going to do just a little bit better. But by the time you get to the really good antennas, you're going to be adding too much weight. And on a quad like this, even a few grams of weight is going to make a difference. The flight controller is a toothpick style all-in-one with a 5 amp built-in ESC. A couple other quick notes before we go and fly it. Definitely do not plug in the battery backwards. There's a little 3D printed plus sign here to help remind you which way the battery goes in. If you plug the battery in backwards, you're probably going to fry the quad. There's no reverse voltage protection, because adding a diode would cause enough voltage. Well, some would argue that you could design it with protection without too much voltage drop, but they haven't. So don't plug the battery in backward. The quad comes with this sheet which indicates the propeller direction. It shows props in. That is actually wrong. The quads are being shipped with props out. You can see my props are set up for props out. You may want to double check this with Betaflight before you go and fly, and it's possible that they'll have fixed this by the time you actually get yours in the second batch. Just double check your motor direction. And finally, like I said earlier in the video, go into BL Heli Suite or BL Heli configurator and double check that the startup power has been set to max. Otherwise, the motors may cause enough sag, even on a high performance battery, to cause the thing to shut down. With all that being said, let's take it out to the field and fly it, and then we'll come back for the conclusions. And the first thing you're going to notice as we take off is, holy cow, we're at like 50% throttle. That's in the lower left of the OSD. We're at like 50% throttle. And wow, we got a lot of shaking too. Let me just double check. And this is not, I haven't got like a bad prop or something. Obviously this hasn't been crashed. I mean, I say obviously this hasn't been crashed. I mean, I guess that's not a given, but it hasn't been. I've been taking it on very conservative test flights to try to make sure, no, everything is fine. All the props are completely perfect in every way. So that's just how it's flying. By the way, if you hear that noise in the background, that is the cicadas, the 17-year cicada cycle. They're coming out. Well, something's up. I mean, obviously, it doesn't fly this shaky in some other people's videos, so maybe I've got a dinged prop or something. I don't know. The battery is sagging down to 3.6 volts from 4.2. It's a lot of sag. However, you can fly it down to freaking, 2.8 or, well, they say stop around 3.2. Trust me, you can get 7, 8, 9 minutes of flight off of this guy. Now, part of the reason you can do that is that you're never hitting the throttle, because here's what happens when you hit the throttle. Hang on, let me descend here. Oh, good, there's some prop wash. Wow, oh, wow, okay, let's get on the throttle. So that was like a worst case scenario for prop wash, but you saw it got really out of sorts. Here is a full throttle punch. Let me come closer so you can hear the motors. It's quiet as heck. You hear it? You can barely hear it. All right, here's a full throttle punch. Get ready. Watch the throttle position in the lower left. Ready? Here we go. Yeah. Those motors take a while to spool up. This is not an Acro Superstar. It is not made for speed. We're getting a little bit of speed here. We could shoot gaps and stuff a little bit. But the thing is, it's so unresponsive. The motors are so unresponsive that if you needed to make a quick correction, you just, see, like right there, there was no way I could have responded fast enough. Even if I had raised the throttle, the motors would not have done it for me. So, like, if you were to try to think of, am I going to be doing like this kind of stuff? Oh, yeah, ooh, there's some sharp cornering. Not so good. Washed out. Bad washout. That's not what this is for. And a lot of times I'll say, I know they say you can't freestyle this, but I'm going to go freestyle it anyway. Let's see how it does. No, just don't. Please don't mind the RSSI low warning. The LQ in the lower right is what you should really be paying attention to. This is on 1 watt output power on my Crossfire module, so really we have as much range as we want. We're going to outrun the video transmitter first. There's just no question. 350 milliwatt video transmitter. Hey there folks, Joshua from the future here. I'm going to repeatedly say that this video transmitter is at 350 milliwatts, and then I'm going to criticize it as having bad range for 350 milliwatts. That is not true. It is at 25 milliwatts. I forgot that I went to Rampage, and while I was at Rampage, I set it at 25 milliwatts because that's what you do when you're flying with other people. So everything I say about the video transmitter range in the video going forward should be understood that it is at 25 milliwatts, not 350, and I was wrong about that. Is not going to get us super far. See, here we're starting to get breakup, and if I turn around, I think it's going to get real bad. In fact, oh my gosh, I'm going to try and come back kind of crooked like this. If I turn around it, well, now I'm getting closer, so it's a little more confidence inspiring. At 350 milliwatts, it's not going to be great range. It's definitely not. I mean, I could probably make it out to that ridge if I felt confident, but seeing as there's no GPS on this, if I lose it, I'm just going to freaking lose it. See, now we're fine. We can get down here. Oof. Yeah, see, I'm doing okay. It's going to start breaking up the video here. And if I turn around, it's going to, see, it's bad. I'm going to kind of come home sideways. Whew. Okay, almost. Yeah. Okay, now we're okay. We're going to be fine. Oh, wow. Picked up some speed there. Can it freestyle? Not really. Not a lot of power, especially here at the end of the battery. Not a lot of power to 3.0 to pull out. Oh, lots of throttle there, 80% throttle. That was just a demonstration of, you know, if you were to try to freestyle it. Oh wow, no, yeah, we're at the end of the battery. We definitely can't push too hard to climb. Even just climbing out aggressively is, so it's not good for acro. It's good for cruising around. I love that I'm getting 7 freaking minutes of flight time. Yay! It's fun to fly if you just stay within, stay within its limitations. Stay within its limitations. It can be mighty fun to fly. The shuddering seems to have settled out a little bit. Oh, climb out. I'm gonna keep flying. Oh, where are we going? Where are we going? There we go. Okay, that's fine. 3.0. Let's see how low we can fly it before it just falls out of the air. When is it gonna die? When's it just gonna fall out of the sky? Because this battery will go down to 2.5. That's a fact. And I don't think this quad will fly that low. I don't think it'll do it. I'm kind of amazed we're still in the air, to be honest. 3.0, 2.0. Oh, there it went. She dead. Is it going to come back? Oh, I'd lost the battery, didn't I?
Telemetry lost.
Well, that answers 2 questions that I had about this guy. First of all, the question of whether the battery's going to come out in a crash. That was I wasn't going super fast, and the battery did pop out. So if you are concerned about recovering your quad after a crash, definitely find another way to secure this battery. The other question was about the durability, and it'd be a little difficult for me to show that to you here, but yep, the arm broke. The arm broke. And again, what was a relatively mild crash. So yeah, don't crash it. That's the takeaway. I do these things so you don't have to. So that brings us to the end of the video, and as always, the question, should you buy it? And I think if what you're looking for is a lightweight quadcopter with good flight performance, this is not going to be the one that I would pick. There are so many examples of quadcopters out there that fly better and just as long as this one. A baby tooth or a toothpick from Kebab FPV. Okay, that's not a ready to fly. You have to build it yourself. Fair enough. The Beta FPV HX100 or 115. I can't remember which one I reviewed. I thought that thing flew really freaking well. But those things run off of regular LiPo cells. They don't run off of 18650s. And that is the real appeal of this, is that it's just a quadcopter where you could take an 18650, you can just go thunk, and you can just go and fly it. And that was pretty cool. Like every time I take out LiPos and plug them in, I'm like checking the LiPo and plugging it in, and I'm a little worried that, oh, is the battery lead gonna get chopped? Am I gonna start a freaking fire and burn down the whole freaking forest? And, you know, then I just put that anxiety behind me and go fly. There's definitely some appeal to just, oh, I'm going to fly. Let me just fly a pack real quick, guys. Boom. Okay, now I go fly a pack. But the flip side is that the flight performance of this quadcopter is, it's like, it's bad. It's bad. Now, at Bardwell, you have to be fair. This is not designed as a racing or freestyle build. It's just designed as a cruiser. Okay. I mean, you get easily 7-8 minutes of flying off this. Just cruising around, tooling around. Fair enough. But there's other things out there that can do that just as well or better because they're using actual LiPos and not 18650s. So they have a better sort of power to weight ratio. The other thing that really has to be mentioned about this is the 350 milliwatt video transmitter. The range on it it's just not great. It's not great. I mean, there's only so far you can go on 350 milliwatts. I know somewhere out there, there's a video of someone flying it 2 kilometers away. No, 2 kilometers isn't that freaking far. So we can't really call this long range. It's long range for a 1S quadcopter. Yeah, that's true, because there aren't really, I mean, everything else is a tiny whoop and it doesn't go far. But I'd be happier if this had a higher powered video transmitter. Of course, that's pretty much always true. But I'm going to guess that they're constrained by the need to run off this 1S voltage, and that's the limiting factor. It was fun to fly. But every time I went to fly it, I kind of wanted to do more with it. I kind of wanted to hit that throttle a little, and it just doesn't have that. So you really got to want that experience in order to spend $150, which I think is what it's going for. You really got to want that in order to get this. Or maybe you're just going to print your own. You got a spare flight controller laying around somewhere, and you're just like, yeah, I'll give it a try. I'll whack this out. That could be fun. If you decide that this is a product for you and you really do want that experience, there's links in the video description. For this product, they are affiliate links. And what that means is that when you make any purchase after you click that link, I get a small commission. So you want to pick this up, you want to pick something else up, just click the affiliate link, do your shopping, check out. It's an easy way for you to support the channel, and it doesn't cost you anything. What do you think of this guy? I would be really interested if I took like a poll. How many people are like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen? And how many people are like, okay, sure, but why? Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Thanks for watching. Happy flying. Do you see this baby? Isn't he cute? Hit the subscribe button. Join my Patreon. Use my affiliate links. Or just keep watching videos. That's better than nothing.
Cuckoo Gaga, subscribe to my daddy.